everybody. How are you doing? My name is Aura. I'm a Beyond Quantum Healing practitioner, and I am here today with my beautiful friend and colleague, Chrysilla Lewies. And together we decided to create a mini series or a series called Infini-Self, where we're going to talk about different beautiful and just expansive topics, which we hope that you will enjoy and we invite you to be a part of. Without further ado, here is Chrysilla.
Hello, Aura. Thank you so much for doing this with me. And I'm so excited with this new journey. And then with the new journey is our topic today, rebirth and renewal of life, because life is all about endings and new beginnings, and how wonderful to have this new beginning with you at this time.
Thank you so much. I am so grateful also to be part of this. And I do feel that, yeah, this year has brought so many new opportunities and changes. And just like you said, some things have been ending, some things have been starting. And actually, it's not just this year. It's just, I guess this year it's been extra powerful, but it has been happening since, I guess, 2019. We've been through this constant renewal of trying to adapt to new ways of life and new ways of being. And yeah,
I almost see it as the catalyst. It was the catalyst for change, the catalyst that propelled us into this new way of reevaluating life. And that's where this rebirth comes in, because I've spoken to so many people. This lockdown, this pandemic has changed our lives to some small degrees, but also to a large degree, where we have had to think about, what do we really want in life? Because we didn't notice or realize that we were on this hamster wheel.
Yeah. Oh, that is so true. And that's the thing, because just now, like we were talking before, and I was telling you about this friend that I have who loves to go to work, always wanted to go to work, especially now during this, having to stay at home. And now when she has to go to work again, she realizes, that it was quite a lot of extra work to add on in the morning, things to do, to impress other people, to, not really being herself. Whereas at home, she would still do her job, but she wouldn't have to impress anyone. She wouldn't have to. She was just with herself, within herself. And I think the gift that these past years have also brought to many of us, sometimes disguised, because many saw it as a tragedy to stay at home and to be at home, was that as we were at home isolated, we got to do some introspective work.
Introspective, absolutely.
Yeah.
And what I feel is that what occurred is we've noticed how valuable our energy is. To think how much time and energy we spend on getting ready, catching that train. By the time I get to work, I've been up a couple of hours and my day hasn't even really started, right? Yeah. And now being at home, it's like, wow, I can feel the difference between preserving my energy, spending it in a way that I feel I need to or want to, rather than wasting it. I know there's no such thing as waste, but you feel like your energy is more valuable, like your time is more valuable, and the way you would like to have that exchange of time, energy, experiences,
exactly,
the quality of it is all so important. And I think as well, as you grow older, you realize it a lot more too. So it does come with age as well.
Yeah, I think so. And I also have, as you're saying, the way we choose to spend our energy. I've also have friends and acquaintances who are extremely extroverted. They love to go out, they love the party, they love to be surrounded by people. But now after the pandemic, they became introverted, and suddenly they're like, oh, I want to be at home. I want to have my own cozy space. I want to, yeah. to spend time with myself and decide how I spend my energy. And yeah.
I feel this topic of rebirth really resonated with both of us. How do you feel it has applied to you in the last couple of years?
Oh, it's been crazy. It's more than a 360 degree. It's an entire different sphere of reality for me, because right before COVID, I guess, I had a feeling that something was going to happen in the world. And just in general, I tend to have these feelings. And then it did happen. And I was a fashion designer, and I was having my own company as that. And I've been doing this work since I was 14. I've been sewing clothes, making patterns and all these things since I was 14. Then I went to university for it, a university that costed a lot of money. And my parents supporting me, getting loans from the Swedish government and so on and so forth. And then I just also working with BQH. And it was in 2017 when I had my first QHHT session as a client, and discovering this entire new world, which I actually discovered in 2012. It's when I came across Dolores Cannon. I had this passion for it, but I never really, I didn't dare, because I thought, my parents paid for this university. Everybody wanted me to be this big fashion designer. My grandma wanted me to have this fashion house and everything. And I felt like I let everyone down. And one evening, I just asked my husband, I said, would you be okay if I would study BQH and if I would become a quantum healing practitioner? And he said, of course. And my first reaction was, I just started crying. And then with COVID, I couldn't buy fabrics anymore because I was buying them from UK, and they were all organic. And it was such a beautiful thing, because I've always been into this whole sustainability. So we were in contact with the people in India who had the crops. And, it's a very beautiful ecosystem that I was working within as a fashion designer. But all that didn't work anymore, plus Brexit, plus all these things. So everything had to be shut down. And I went into BQH and I went into channeling, and I've had such amazing, crazy revelations and just information that I couldn't find in any books. I couldn't find in anywhere. I was on Facebook groups, starseed groups, and so on and so forth, trying to find this information. And then more and more came to me through BQH sessions that I had. And then, I don't know, it was now in January this year where I was guided to sell everything. I sold all my fabrics, all my sewing machines, everything, just now in January this year. So now I'm officially no longer a fashion designer. And I just work with empowering people and as a BQH practitioner. And that's the biggest joy in my life. And it felt very scary and lonely. And I have my husband who is amazing at supporting me, but my parents are not happy about it. They don't even know what to tell people that I do. They don't know what I do. Nobody understands what's happening. So,
yeah.
But it was a huge change. And it was a few days ago, 2-3 days ago, we were walking the dog and I was crying, telling my husband that maybe I should try and get a job or do something else, to have a stable, an income, a monthly income, something that comes every month, because right now it's just a BQH. So there's a lot of things to be deprogrammed, because I've always knew that this is the work that I wanted to do. I always knew that I wanted to help people. And fashion was just another passion, so to say. But really, it's amazing. It's a blessing that is still sinking in.
Yeah, I could really feel you. I could really feel you there as you were talking about your experiences, because we grow up with all these expectations of what we should be, how we should act, how we should love, how, you know, we want to trust, but we don't trust ourselves, or we want to love but we don't love ourselves. And it's this constant dynamic of butting heads of what we truly desire, but we're not allowed to feel or be that. And it's the deconstructing of all of that that's taking place. And listening to you, it's as if, you know, when you were saying I sold everything January, for me it's almost as if there's a grieving that takes place, a grieving of a life you're leaving behind. But in that grieving as well, again, it's the reevaluating of what is ahead, asking the questions of, what do I really want? What do I really love? Who am I?
Exactly. Absolutely. And there is, when you know what you really want to do, when you follow it, I think that's the biggest fulfillment that you have in life. And something that I just dared to write, I haven't posted it yet, but something that I heard one morning. I wake up, sometimes I just hear stuff from my guides, I guess, or my higher self. And I heard this thing saying, redemption is remembering who you are. And I thought, oh, you sound so dramatic. It sounds so dramatic. But I guess it's true in the way that once you remember who you are and you step into it, because remembering is not enough. In this world, we have to take action. We have to physically do it, say it, be it. And once we do that, it's just pure freedom. There's nothing else that matters. You are free. And when you are free, you start freeing others, because you radiate this freedom. And by just the simple fact of people seeing you acting differently, being differently, they ask, hey, what is it? What are you doing? What's up with you? How did you do this? It's like, well, I decided to go on my own path, my own individual path that I always wanted to go on, but never dared. And this is what happened. And so maybe like this, we can inspire others to do what they love.
Yeah. It does take a leap of faith, though. That's the one thing it takes. And the one thing that it's frightening, like all your fight and flight instincts kick in all at once. And you're like, because our survival depends on it, right? Am I going to be okay if I do this? And that's why we seek permission. Like, you know, you had to seek permission from your partner to say, is it okay if I do this? Will you still look after me and love me?
Yeah. And that is so sad somehow, that we have this so deeply ingrained within us. Just imagine how lovely the world would be. I was just talking about, it was another girl that wrote to me a few days ago saying that she's not sure that she wants to do the job that she has, and she has a different passion, but her parents are also doctors, and so she chose this path. And I told her my story, and I also told her the story of a classmate of mine who also, you know, coming from this type of family where if you're not a doctor, a lawyer, or an architect, you're nobody, or an engineer. And so she first started architecture, then she dropped out of it because it wasn't her thing. Then she started fashion. So this is how we were in the university together. And when we were there, she told me that her passion in life is to clean. Her dream job is to be a cleaning lady. She wants to clean. Nothing makes her heart sing like cleaning. But she would never do that because it's something that people look down upon, sadly. And it's crazy, it's insane. And she would, you know, what is it called? Her parents wouldn't be happy about it. She would disappoint her parents if she would do that. And so she had to do other things to keep her family and friends and so on happy. But imagine how beautiful the world would be if everybody would just do whatever they're passionate about. and not choose jobs according to the hierarchy or class or whatever, money and stuff like that.
I feel that she needs to give herself permission to want to do that.
Yeah.
And the justification, I think we justify why we do and not do things. And her justification, which is accompanied by that belief, is it's menial. People will be looking down on me. But the opposite could be true too, 100%, because you're doing it because you're driven, you're passionate. And funny you would mention that at one example. I was watching a video last week of this lady who went into old people's houses who are no longer able to clean for themselves, and she spring cleaned the houses top to bottom. And it was just, she does it for free and she loves it, and the transformations. And it was just like, wow, you know, you are making a massive difference in these people's lives. And it's not menial, it's rewarding. It's rewarding when you do something and you feel good about it. You feel like you've made a difference in someone's life. And that's all that matters. If we can all just do that every day and walk away knowing that we feel good within ourselves. And saying that as well, there's also this thing about you do something. This has just come up, sorry. This is, you do something for exchange of something else, like for money, or so there's, and then I had this discussion with just this random stranger I met last week. Just my life is just so random. And he was saying, well, if you're going to do something and you expect something back, it's a transaction. I said, yes, but isn't everything a transaction? Even if it's just an exchange of energy, or even if it's just you helping someone and you feeling good about it, there's always an exchange of some sort.
Exactly. Even just a conversation, it's an exchange of words, an exchange of knowledge, an exchange of experiences.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But it's the price you pay for that exchange. Unhappy job, but you get money for it, or you follow your passion and the rewards for it is tenfold, and money can't buy that type of happiness.
Absolutely. And this is why I'm still driving towards, I'm hoping that in this life we get to live in a world without money. It's something that I've had since I was a child. I always thought, why do we need money? Why can we all just do whatever it is we love and exchange, like, I don't know, you're going to help me build my house. I'm growing carrots, potatoes. I can provide food for you. You know, it's so easy.
You'll be surprised that is already in the making. That system in the background for small communities are already in the making. So it just needs to pick up momentum, and we will hopefully see that in our lifetime.
So beautiful.
Yeah. No, because I have spoken to someone about that concept, and they were like, oh my God, yes, I know people is already doing it. It's like, well, I'm so excited. I can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see it. I can't visualize yet how that may look like, you know, because it's so difficult to perceive the future and visualize yourself in it. That's why it's so easy to recreate the past, right? Because we've been there. But creating the future you want takes energy and effort and positive thinking, and we need to do that more often.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
How was it for you, this experience of rebirth this year?
Oh, it was tough. It was tough. I went through periods of just isolating myself. And I feel like I'm still the quantum healer and the channel that I am and was before COVID, but I have been doing a lot less of it because I felt like I needed to come back to me. What changed was relationships. I moved a house, Brexit, of course, and the work environment changed for my 3D job. So that meant as well, like, okay, I have a lot more time on my hands. What do I do with myself, right? And it did take that reevaluating of self, questioning, what is it that I really want? But with all the emotions that came up for me and why I felt this was like either a darkness of the soul and then coming into a rebirth, was the fact that I had so much trauma come to the surface that needed healing. And within that, it's hard to express yourself, and especially expressing yourself to the right people, because not everyone necessarily understands where you are or where you're coming from. And what I've realized too is people are afraid of emotion. They don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Don't cry, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
You'll get through this. And everything they say is as if they're just completely invalidating you. So it was really hard, because it has taught me to trust myself, to learn more about being with me instead of relying on others to be there, or have. It was hard. I keep saying that, Aura, because it was like I had to learn how to trust myself more, instead of seeking that external advice, because that's what a lot of us do. Let's have a spiritual reading, let's have a quantum healing session. Quantum healing sessions are great because you're giving yourself those answers and insight that you need, and learning to trust that what you are giving yourself from your higher self, instead of everyone, because everyone are always willing to say, this is what you need to do, this is what helped me, but that was their journey, and that is what helped them on theirs, and that's not necessarily what is going to be right for you. And so it came to a point where when I met people, I had to say to myself, what do I admire about this person? Why do I look up to this person? And by doing that, I could start recognizing what I have within me, because we're all a mirror, right, for each other. And even when it came to not just the good things, but the sadness too, I could start recognizing the sadness in other people. So even though I say this was tough, and even though I feel like this has been a really difficult time, we go through this because this is the only way we can learn from our experiences to therefore rise up and help others.
Exactly.
So the rebirth I'm feeling has been change of career. I've gone into politics. The one thing I said I'd never ever do. And I've been finding a love for going out and meeting people. So yes, I enjoy the me time and hiding in a shell, but as well, I've come to a point in my life where I was like, I don't care what people think anymore. Go out and do what you want to do and enjoy life. And especially through COVID, that's what I did. The government was like, you can't go out, you can't hug, you can't kiss. I'm like, I'm going to go out. Even if it's just locally, I can't just isolate myself in this way. It's killing me. And that's what I had to realize. And hopefully a lot of people realize that, like, live life. There is more to life. It's been an awakening for sure. And I'm sure a lot of people have awakened through this COVID period too.
Yeah. Oh my God, but I love I love everything that you've been through, because that's the thing, even though it's been hard, it's still a rebirth, right? That's why it is a rebirth. And if we look at nature, the butterfly, the caterpillar turning into a butterfly, that's not an easy process. That's not a painless process either. Or nature, this is something that always gets me going. I look at nature and I think, first it has to die. All the leaves, I'm looking at the trees in front of me, all the leaves have to fall from the trees in order to make space for new leaves. And this is the only way nature is our best example of how things are happening.
Yeah, I love a tree. What does a tree do? Okay, so a tree blossoms like a flower would. And when it's time to say, I have blossomed enough, the leaves die because the energy is withdrawn from it, right?
Mhm.
The tree brings everything back within itself to say, I need to reserve what I have left for the next rebirth to take place. And that's why the leaves fall off and die, because the tree is pulling back.
So beautiful. I got so many chills now.
Yeah, and that's why it's okay. It's okay to pull back and isolate yourself and have boundaries.
Yes.
Boundaries are so important. And I'm connecting with a lot more people who have boundaries. And it's nice to hear that people have them, but at the same time, it's also like ooh, you just put a boundary in place. I'm not used to that, you know. and it's nice, it's life-changing to notice that, because it also brings to light how we overstep boundaries at times just because people don't have any.
Yeah, exactly.
So when someone puts up that boundary, it's like, oh, okay, yes, I noticed that I've just overstepped, and my sincere apologies. Or you don't even have to apologize. You don't, I'm thinking out loud, but you learn from that and you see it unfold, and it's nice. It's nice when people do that. Be honest with themselves rather than living to society's expectations of, I have to be there and I have to do that, and I have the schedule to run.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is something that many of us must relearn, I guess, because it's not something that our parents have experienced. They did not have the internet, and now everybody who has access to the internet suddenly has access to you. And you're supposed to answer to all these people who demand or need or just, an advice or whatever it is. And if we cannot respect ourselves, we cannot give from an empty cup. If we don't have our boundaries, we need to be able to give from a full cup. Otherwise, we're not really helping them by sacrificing ourselves.
Yeah.
But that's not love. That's not love. That's not unconditional love. It must include you.
Yeah. I loved how you're telling stories, because through telling stories, even when you have clients, you tell a story, and you tell your story because hopefully they can resonate with it. But you are connected to that client in that particular moment because there's a resonance, and the connection is there for a reason. But what I have noticed, for example, with you saying now, you what did you say? Just before I said that, I lost my train of thought now. So you're giving, right? And
at a full cup.
You
cannot give from an empty cup.
Exactly, right? So where I was going with this is, I see people who give not necessarily from a full cup, but it's as if their happiness is within the giving. So they would say, or what I've experienced, they would say, I am not happy within myself. I do not love myself, but I enjoy the love I give others through their support, or through doing charity work, or through seeing me helping them, that they become a success. And I think that's beautiful, but also sad at the same time, because they don't see that themselves as worthy of that success or that love. So they're giving it away constantly.
Yeah. I was like that. I used to say, I loathe myself and I love people. And it hit me again. I woke up one morning and I started channeling. And it came this whole thing to me about Jesus, right? Because we learned that Jesus has sacrificed himself for humanity. And when we grow up in a very religious household or society, at least this is how it was when I grew up in Romania, a Romanian Orthodox church, who were saying that we are sinners, we are, unworthy beings, that Jesus has sacrificed and gave his blood for us. And it's just so painful to learn these things, because I learned my entire life I felt unworthy. My entire life I felt I'm a sinner, you know, I'm that scum somewhere. But I love everyone and I want everyone to be happy. And there is this notion of sacrifice means I love you, or mothers telling their children, who did I sacrifice myself for? And that's supposed to mean I love you, I give you everything, while they deprive themselves in a way or another. But then again, that is not unconditional love. That is not, I used to not believe in the saying, if you don't love yourself, you cannot love another. I used to think that's crappy and you cannot say things like that. But I learned through time that if I don't care for myself, and if I'm depressive and self-destructive and so on and so forth, I'm not really doing anyone any good. And if I don't evolve and if I don't make myself better, I will never be able to truly help others become better as well, or give them better, I mean healthier or happier, because everybody's perfect in the way that I perceive. You're always perfect. You just forget that you are. And we need to help each other remember these things.
Yeah. When you say that, remember who we are, for me, the next question would be, okay, I like the questions. I normally ask, and I have said it earlier on, who am I? Who am I? What am I? Right? And explore that. And once you answer that, ask it again, who are you? You know, who am I? And you just go as far as you can. But knowing who you are still stems and goes alongside what is our life purpose. And I think that is the big thing that people also trip over. You know, they get stuck on, like, does it mean, if I know who I am, does it mean what my life purpose is? Right? Or, you know, I don't know what my life purpose is, but it's because you are already living it. So how would you say people would know what their life purpose is?
I think that this is how I see it.
Okay.
That our main life purpose is ourselves. That I was listening to the raw material, the law of one. There are some things that don't resonate.
I agree. Yeah.
Some things which, I'm really questioning. But they said one thing which resonated so much, and I was so happy to hear it from somewhere outside of me. Someone else say it, and that is, I think they were talking, I'm probably calling it the 3 laws of the universe. I don't know if they call it that too. And that is law number 1, know yourself. Law number 2, accept yourself. Law number 3, become the creator. Because once you have known yourself as you are your mission, and you have accepted that self that you are, which is unique and different from anybody else, yet at the same time, we are all one, you can become the magnificent creator that you are. You can, because when you're at peace with yourself, you are at peace with the world. You are in the flow of the universe. You are the flow of the universe. And that's when you can start building and creating your own reality. And this thing with knowing yourself, I think the mission in our lives is, because as babies, we all have a personality. We are all very unique. And I think that's why we resonate with superheroes, because we know that we have these powers. And I don't know how you were as a kid, but I was running around like Captain Planet characters or Sailor Moon characters or something like this. And I always knew this power is within me. I always knew I could fly. I always knew I could heal with energy, plants, people. as a kid, I always knew. I was talking to the sun, I was talking to the stars. They were my best friends. I was, but then your parents, society tells you, come back down to earth. You need to grow up. You cannot do this. You need to fit into society. Why can you not be like your sister? Why can you not be like your cousin?
Yeah.
You have to be top of your class. And you start restricting yourself. You start pushing yourself aside, pushing yourself away. You know that you have unlimited abilities. You know that you have unlimited beingness. You are unlimited as a child. But then you become more and more constrained by everything that comes towards you from society, and you forget who you are. You forget your uniqueness. And I think the mission is, the purpose is to remember that self, to remember who you are. And as you remember who you are and learn to accept who you are, you can then help the world with your uniqueness, with your unique beingness. Sorry, it took so long to.
Oh my God, that was you were on a roll. I loved that. You had so many amazing points there, so many amazing points. And especially as children, and you mentioned about parents, that's a big thing, because we grow up as children and we have this intuition, we have this internal guidance system. And what happens is, as soon as we're born, we are told to not trust that. Right. A simple example, right? Like, let's say you hurt yourself, you fall as a baby or a young small child, you hurt you, and you're like, ow, mommy, I have an ouchie or whatever. And your whole body is saying that something's wrong. Your whole body is saying something just happened. And mom comes along, it's like, oh, just brush it off, you'll be fine, you'll be okay. And that's invalidation, right?
Yeah.
First forms of it.
Yeah.
And growing up, it's the unlearning, and also relearning that takes place. And it's so hard, because we are in the hands of our parents for so many years, and we become this person who we don't want to be, or it doesn't necessarily resonate, but we are born to please. We're born to make other people happy, and we're just doing it in the wrong way because we don't know any better. And then when we get to an adult age where we can now start making our own decisions, that's when the unraveling starts to happen. Also the rebirth, that could also be where you get to this point of confusion and trying to figure out life.
Absolutely. And many times these moments are the deepest of points in life that one can find themselves in. And I think I was thinking also about what you said earlier, that you felt so invalidated by everyone else around you, and you had to isolate yourself to find refuge within yourself. And that can be also scary, because many of us think that it's lonely, right? Like you have there's nobody that understands you, there's nobody that but I think we have to it would be nice if we could find this light within ourselves, and find a friend within us. Find I think it's also the world nowadays. I know that we humans are social creatures, right? But if someone is an introvert, I'm an introvert, it's seen upon as a bad thing. It's because I'm the kind of person that doesn't go to others to ask for help or seek advice or anything like that. Mostly because, I guess, from being invalidated as I grew up.
Yes.
I don't know if it has to do with trust issues. Probably, if I would be, completely honest with myself, I know I do have trust issues too.
I think we all do.
Yeah, trust, abandonment issues, all kinds of the whole pot.
Yeah.
But I think it's also important to not invalidate people when they tell you that they do better on their own, and that it's okay sometimes to be on your own, because you don't always have to be dependent on other people. And it's important that there's a balance, right? There always needs to be a balance. You can't just have the one thing or one extreme.
Yeah. It's hard when you feel certain emotions or feelings where you're going through something specific and you don't have the validation, or people say to you, it's not okay to feel that way. You know, there is something wrong with you. Like, whoa, you know, there's nothing wrong with me. You know, I just need the support to get me through this.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like society doesn't have those foundations or support for the people who need it the most.
Yeah.
We see it even now, you know, people who's gone off to war-torn countries and, you know, fighting for the war or in the war, and they come back and they don't have the support. That is a life-changing thing that happens to you to do something like that. May you go into something like that consciously or unconsciously, coming back and not having the support and just completely feeling abandoned. You know, that is the extreme scenario, but that happens to us on various levels. And I'm sure everyone has been there in one shape or form in their life.
Yeah.
So I read an interesting post the other day, and it said, trauma comes back in a reaction, not a memory. Trauma comes back in a reaction, not a memory.
Yeah, because it's already grounded within the body, because it's already within the subconscious mind. And you always have, that's the thing, because trauma is so deeply embedded within the physical body that it's like a reflex. It's a reaction. Yeah. And that's why I love BQH sessions versus normal psychotherapy. This is something that I always say, that it's the example that I give, because someone asked me, how is it different from normal psychotherapy? And I said, well, I went to the doctor to the psychiatrist. Yeah, the one with the pills. I went to the psychiatrist for 10 years trying to resolve my anxiety issues. I had panic attacks, which I could not explain. And it never got resolved. I just got more, higher and higher doses of medication, because that will fix me. And in a BQH session, I actually timed it. I listened to the session again and I timed it, and it was 3 minutes and 47 seconds, I think, that I resolved that issue with a BQH session, because we went directly to the root. We went deep within the body and through all the scenarios that this has ever happened and why it's happening. And then it never had to happen again, because I understood it, and my physical body, my subconscious mind remembered and understood it and put the pieces back together.
Yeah. So I had my first panic attack as well in the beginning of COVID. Never had one before. It was so scary. I thought I was going to die. It was awful. But then again, everything's a catalyst. What is really going on? And then I realized panic attacks and anxiety stems from you being drawn into different directions, and like your fight and flight instincts kick in, and it doesn't know, should you hide? Should you run away? Should you, freeze? And one of those instincts is, I want to die.
Yeah.
And when you have the conflict of these instincts, your body just it overloads. It's a system overload, and that's what we're experiencing.
Yeah.
Would you say that?
I love how you explained it. Yes, I love how you explained it. I was like, I thought this is so beautifully put together, the way you just explained it. Yes, absolutely.
And it totally makes sense, because it does feel like you don't know which direction. You don't know what do I need to do. It's all our survival, and it all goes back to to our Stone Age gathering years. You know, we haven't developed, we haven't you know, our bodies haven't really caught up with today's society, and we're taking on more and more stress.
Yes.
If you think 100 years ago, the amount of stress that we have now, and if you were to have a breakdown or, you know, anything of that sort, they would throw you in a mental hospital.
Yeah.
And, you know, even less than that, you would be sanctioned. There's something wrong with you. And today it's an everyday thing we have to live with.
Yeah.
It's our normal. You know, the stresses that the body goes through is incredible. And I've also noticed within my body, when I have an extremely stressful day, at night when you fall asleep, you know, you have this release, the muscle release, and you kind of jerk.
Yeah.
Like, when I have a really stressful day, I find I do that a lot during that particular night.
Mm.
Just releasing the tension and the stress the body is holding.
Yeah. No, this is so damaging. And I mean, just thinking of animals, right? They have this fight or flight moment only in the moment that they feel that they are attacked, where they need to fight or flight. And then they go back to their normal everyday existence,
Yes.
which is chill. They don't, it's in the flow with everything else. And what we are doing, we are exactly like them. We are not supposed to be overloading ourselves with this insane stress. And this is how we create so much illness in our body. Inflammation, that is stress. Cancer, that can also absolutely be stress. It's so much, we do so much damage to our tissue, to our tension. That's stress. Constantly being tense, that is putting tension on everything within our body.
Absolutely. And as well as we are the only species on this planet that keep repeating past experiences and trauma over and over in our heads and our minds. You know, we're just torturing ourselves with what ifs and what could have been, what we could have done differently, instead of saying what's done is done, let's move forward. You know, there's nothing I can do, or what should I do now to make me feel better? What actions do I need to take? And then that will enable me to move forward. But I think it is scientifically proven that you are, as a human being, you feel trauma for about 20 minutes, and everything over that is self-inflicted.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was just thinking to say, as hard as it is many times, because I'm thinking of really heavy trauma, really horrible, horrendous things.
Yeah.
But I found from personal experience that the only way to release it is through forgiveness. Because, and I know so many people who have gone through horrible things who say that I would never forgive this, I would never forgive that. And I can understand that reasoning, but by not forgiving, you are, by holding a grudge and holding this anger, you are only doing yourself harm. Not the other person. The other person, you know, is fine, or the other people.
Yeah, the other person
they're just
living
going about their lives.
Yes.
Exactly. You are the one suffering, and by not forgiving, you are not releasing. So it's not like you're doing them a favor by forgiving them. You are releasing yourself by forgiving them. And I think this is something that people need to start understanding. It's as scary as it is. It's a release only for you, not for them, not for anyone else.
Yeah. Yeah. Through loving myself, I'm loving you. Through forgiving myself, I'm forgiving you. Through accepting what cannot be changed.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Is there a saying there? Why did I just say that? For accepting what I cannot change. I think it's a prayer.
It's a prayer. Yes.
It's a prayer.
There are 4 things, I think, in this prayer.
Yeah. So, but it is a lovely prayer. I'll put it in the description. Put it in the description. It's funny. Oh, funny and not so funny. I always struggled with prayer my entire life. I had difficulty voicing myself, expressing myself, and even today, sometimes I just don't know how to have those right words to say what I really feel. And I started to become like really spiritual, which meant, you know, I started to do a lot more prayer, and the way I did that was in a spiritual church environment. So I would be in front of the congregation and I would open the church service with prayer. And at first it was frightening. It was like I had to overcome a biggest fear, maybe even a past life trauma, I feel, because it was so deeply ingrained. And it took me to start writing down prayers, and I had to read them out. And until there was this acceptance of it's okay to pray. It's okay to pray to Jesus and God and ask for things and forgiveness. And you know, it was such a strange concept for me, even though I was brought up with a religious household, a Christian household. It was totally foreign to me. And I only stepped really into my own voice and being able to pray and meditate in my late 20s. And it helped me a lot to be able to speak to people, because I was a shy person, you know. I'm like, don't know how to speak, I don't know how to say, don't know how to come across. I always come across like it's the weird girl. And it took a lot of practice for me to just completely step out of my comfort zone. Oh, it took so much, but you have to do it. You have to do it, and don't do it with any expectation of what other people may think, or what it should look like, or anything. Just throw all the rules out of the book. And you know, just put yourself out there and ask yourself, what's the worst thing that can happen? What's the worst thing? Because if you can think of the worst thing, then anything else is a bonus, right?
Oh, I love it. Oh,
well, okay. So if we're on this topic of renewal and rebirth, and let's say there are people going through struggle, going through grieving of maybe losing a job, or even a loved one, or an ending of a relationship, because that could take many forms. What would be the advice to give to someone moving through this transition period? Because it's not something instant, is what I feel. And it's, you know, that's, we need to have compassion for ourselves as this is taking place.
yeah, exactly as you say, having compassion for yourself, I think, is very, very important. And so many times when we, let's say, lose a loved one or a relationship ends, we tend to punish ourselves in so many ways. We tend to forget about ourselves. And when it comes to losing a loved one, through transition, having them transition to another side, to the other side, the other sides,
the lighter side of life.
Yeah, exactly. It's to remember exactly this, to remember that there's really no loss in that. I think in this case, the word loss is a misconception, because if anything, they are even more with you and all the time with you than they were before. This is just thinking about my grandma, who I would see twice a year or twice every other year, once every other year. And after her transition, she's with me constantly. She's always here. So
yeah, mine too, actually.
Yeah. But to have patience with oneself and to have to be accepting of the situation, I think, because when we don't accept something, we create resistance. So as hard as a situation may be, only when we can accept it and truly accept it and see it for what it is, we can then begin to let it go. And another thing that I like to do is, if I'm in a super, super bad situation and I feel at a complete loss, no way out, I don't know what to do with myself, I go into observer mode and I look at myself from a third person, I don't know, from outside.
Yeah.
And I try to see, as if I would try and help someone else. How can I help you? I tell myself, and I detach from this whole situation personally and emotionally. And I see from the outside, how can I solve this? How can I help myself? And how bad is it really? Because it turns out that it's never as bad as
we think it is.
We think that it is. And everything, as cliche as it sounds, does happen for a reason. And even the most horrendous thing, they happen to awaken us in another way or another, or to bring our attention upon other things, bring things to light, bring new understandings to light, maybe. And if the doors are closed for you in one way, it just means that it's not for you. Maybe try and do something else and follow your intuition. I think that's the number one thing. And your intuition is not someone that tells you that you're bad. It's not telling you you're doing things wrong, this is bad, blah, 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 blah. It's loving. So follow the love and the intuition, the heart that is within you. I think that. What would you say to this?
Oh, I love that. Oh, yes, you just said so many things. I love when someone talks. I do this as an experiment. When someone talks, just to grab one word, and you can say, just grab one word, and you can open like a whole speech about it, right? So it's like, oh wow, you said so much now. What stands out for me the most? I feel the compassion we need to hold for ourselves is really important. The fact that the guilt we feel as well, of the should haves, I should have been there more, or I should have hold more compassion. And it teaches us at least where we've gone wrong, so that we can improve upon that. So it's not about what you've done wrong. It's about how you can now move forward doing something differently, in a different way. It didn't work the first time. How can you do it that it will work for you? And I've had to learn that too, because I feel within myself, I have a really strong personality, and I could be, really full on. And it's taken me time to, instead of go, listen, take a step back, so you give other people the opportunity to come forward too. Because if you're constantly on the go, you're not giving or allowing people to come forth and be there for you. If anything, are you pushing them away? So I've learned that. I've learned to just take a step back and see who comes forward, see what unfolds. Because nothing is a rush. Everything will happen in divine timing, as and if and when it should do. And what is meant for you will be there for you. One thing that I've realized doing my readings, I love my tarot readings or spiritual readings and mediumship. I love BQH, but I love my readings. They just bring so much joy to me. But what I've noticed is it can be a crutch, because we intuitively know something. We know something to be true. We know what we should be doing, but our hearts and minds are in conflict with each other. And it's like, no, I need to get a reading. That, like, you're looking for a different answer. It's the same with our BQH sessions, beyond quantum healing sessions. So it's like, we're looking for that validation, but it's like, subconsciously, it's, I want something else. I need this different thing. But your soul is saying no. And you know that that's not right for you. And it's that letting go of that need and want or desire of something that's not in alignment with you. I'm sure you've been there. Like you want something different, but you know that that's not right. It's toxic.
All the time, every day almost.
Yes, and it's like we're drawn to that drama, we're drawn to that toxicity, and that's what we need to let go of. And again, like you say, just tune into yourself. What does your heart say? And stop doubting yourself. You know, you don't need to go to a reader, like a psychic reader, unless you really feel you need that guidance and you're really stuck. But the reader will tell you and confirm to you what you really know anyway. And you walk away frustrated anyway, because it's like, well, I knew that already, but that's not what I wanted to hear. Yeah.
Oh, I love this. And I totally agree with you.
But it's okay, you know, because when we're stuck, that's what we do. We go to different avenues of what will work for me? How can I get out of this hole that I found myself in? How do I get back on my feet, you know, standing and instead of sitting on the ground? So we do try different modalities. Some work, some doesn't. And it's about life experiences and, you know, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Okay, what's next for me? And not seeing anything as bad, but simply as an experience of it didn't work. This is or even just realizing this is what I thought I wanted, but no, I've now decided I want something else. And you wouldn't know that unless you've had it, or you've had that experience. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love this. And it's okay to change over and over and over and over again until you do find the perfect thing that works.
Yeah.
And just again, look at nature and how often nature changes and how we freak out when Mother Nature chooses to do things a little bit differently. And but how about, yeah, I think just rolling with it. And even seeing things probably, I mean, seeing things as an opportunity even.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it.
To do things differently, to grow it in a different direction, or to expand, because everything is just expanding within the infinity of it, oneself.
Yeah, that is it. We're all always expanding and growing, and once you think you've reached that goal, you've already set your new goal, so you're never going to get there anyway, because it's all about expanding and learning, unlearning, changing.
Exactly.
Yeah. But don't give up. I think we give up too easily. Don't give up too quickly on yourself.
Yeah. Always keep going. And you know, all these things, there's so many people who think that, oh my God, but these people are so enlightened and so they know so much and they got it all figured out.
No, I think today showed we don't have it all figured out. We're always learning from each other. Do you know how many times my clients learn from me, but my God, I learn from my clients just as much. We all have valuable insight to share and to learn from each other. Yeah,
exactly.
And I think what most of the clients do is, if they, because we're a mirror for each other, right? They look, like, for example, when you had your first session, it was like, oh my God, I want to do this. You know, it just resonated so much. And it was the same for me. But the push that you need to do is push yourself to say, I'm going to do this. I am worthy. I can. I have these abilities, like you were talking about the superheroes, because we all have it within us. It's all about, do you feel like you are worthy of doing it and giving yourself permission? Because we feel like, oh, I can't do that, I'm not as good as her. You don't have to be me. You don't have to be as good as me. You will be good in your own unique way, and the people who you can help will find you and will be there for you. Because again, I have people that say, oh, there's too many people doing this, you know, there won't be enough clientele for me. Oh, there was this I don't know if I should say this. There was this healer, and we're all on the directory, right? So I'm not going to name any names, but this was the mindset. My last name, for example, is Lewis, my married name, but my maiden name is Nordea, which is N, right? Just to talk about alphabetical letters now, which means I'm way down at the bottom of the alphabet. And the mindset was, clients are never going to be able to scroll so far, so I'm never going to get any clients. I was like, no, it's not how the world works. So it's again about our mindset and realizing what we think is true.
Yeah, because what we think is true is true.
Yeah, constantly evaluate your beliefs and what you think and what you say. Because what you say it tells an awful lot about what you believe is true and how you see the world.
Yeah, and what your reality is like.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I think we shared a lot of insight today. Thank you so much for co-creating with me today, Aura. And for everyone watching, our links will be in the description below. Please follow our YouTube channels, like, subscribe, and comment. Tell us about how this video helped you, how you've gone through difficult times in your life. And we'll definitely be there replying and interacting with you.
Thank you so much for today. I'm so grateful to be spending this beautiful time and knowledge with you. Thank you, darling.
Thank you very much. Until next time.
And thank you, everyone. Sorry.
No, looking forward to our next session. I'll just watch the space.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.